taking over this case.
What we do here is go back.
Last time, my partner sent us deep into a world of stiobe and satire. Today, I'm going to show you why that world broke. I'm also going to show you why irony doesn't work the same way that it used to, and what the future is going to have to look like if irony is going to survive at all. But first, let's have a new set piece. Let's go to the edgiest comedy theater in Chicago. Last time, my partner studied the rise of stiobe in America, but that's not the whole story. There's another thread running here. America has a storied history with irony. We have legendary satirists in Mark Twain and Kurt Vonnegut. Their satire worked differently than ours does because their America was different. Their humor was subversive because Americans were serious about their ideals, and their humor was rebellious because when they chose to tear symbols down, they were symbols that Americans respected. When World War II ended, intellectuals started questioning the institutions, ideals, and idols at the heart of modernity. There were things that got slipped into Western life under the guise of perfect scientific rationality, but those things didn't hold up to scrutiny. Irony was the postmodernist #1 tool to make this clear. You could take down big targets with a good joke, or at least change people's minds. You know the common targets: the Catholic Church, the Nixon administration, capitalism, the nuclear family, the precision of language, and so on. Everything looked ripe for deconstruction, and irony was cooler than it had ever been. So, like anything cool, irony was used to sell things.
Sometimes the signs are hard to ignore. But whenever you see clothes this clean, that's a Tide ad.
Clean clothes may be an indication of a Tide ad. Tide users experience 10 times.
Turns out, irony is really good at selling things. Because when you know something is bad, you get cognitive dissonance while you're doing it, and nothing clears cognitive dissonance like ironic detachment. The mere act of laughing at something feels like rebellion. And when you're content with the amount of rebelling you're doing, you're perfectly fine with continuing to do the same thing. Americans start seeing more television shows and advertisements like this avant-garde Pepsi commercial, where a bunch of people on a beach mindlessly buy Pepsi at the sound of someone enjoying one.
Are having a heat wave, 92 degrees and going nowhere but up. We're looking for a high of 98.
Okay, who's first?
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
There's an in-joke here that roughly translates to, we're trying to sell you something, and that sucks. Then, after the audience has laughed at how the system goads them into blank consumerism, they're content to buy a Pepsi. As the essayist Lewis Hyde put it, irony only has emergency use. Carried over time, it is the voice of the trapped who have come to enjoy their cage. David Foster Wallace goes further. The reason why our pervasive cultural irony is at once so powerful and so unsatisfying is that an ironist is impossible to pin down. All U.S. irony is based on an implicit, I don't really mean what I'm saying. So what does irony as a cultural norm mean to say? That it's impossible to mean what you say? That maybe it's too bad it's impossible, but wake up and smell the coffee already? Most likely, I think, today's irony ends up saying, how totally banal of you to ask what I really mean.
Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking cunt.
Greg on YouTube has an interesting theory on this. It's the same thing that would literally be repeated word for word in an iDubbbz video. And it attempted to legitimize the layers of irony colloquialism that people online had been using at the time, as in, this meme has so many layers of irony. We're proposing something similar. Irony saturation means that, in Dregg's terms, we exist at a perpetual first layer of irony. Then, the internet gives an audience to average people and pushes them to do stiob. That bumps us up to an irony layer 2 or 3. We also view it as a contradiction. You're over-identifying with something in form or detail, as in you're respecting the form of a meme or the unironic emotional disposition of someone who would have made the meme. But you're also mocking it. It's how we get memes like this. Internet irony also generates stiob-esque personalities who are irony-saturated to the point where the intention behind their personas, even with context, is hazy at best. iDubbbz, Filthy Frank, Dreg, and Sam Hyde are all examples. They're entertaining figures with the same populist appeal as Stephen Colbert or Borat, and they're easy to glom onto because a satirist is impossible to pin down, because, like Stephen Colbert, they're whatever you want me to be. It ends up creating a scenario where everyone's interpretation of the character is equally valid. iDubbbz, Filthy Frank, Dreg, and Sam Hyde were either racist trolls or they were trolling the racists. It doesn't matter which you believe, you can watch it either way. One thing we've learned, the further you push irony, the better it is at selling you things. Deploying irony like this has consequences, more drastic ones than irony saturation does. We're going to validate another colloquialism and call this terminal level of irony saturation irony poisoning. When you come down with this, when you catch a case of irony poisoning, you tend to forget who you are. The main practitioners of internet irony are good examples. Dreg talks at length about his own irony poisoning, how it isolated him from community, how it fed his depression, how it prevented him from developing any real self-knowledge.
Irony poisoning erodes your ability to be able to associate with social causes that can help you find good people, or just with people in general that sometimes cause you pain, because that's what human relationships are like. Sometimes you cause each other pain and then you talk about it. You have a conversation about it, and then you work through it. I am not lonely anymore. I complained about loneliness a lot on this channel. I whined, I would say, about loneliness, but I complained about it because I was so deeply aware of the problem that I knew I had to do something about it in order to make myself feel better about it, so I did. It just took years.
Something similar is seen in Sam Hyde in iDubbbz's documentary about him. After Sam Hyde reveals his suicidal girlfriend and team of dentist office gambling addicts were a drawn-out prank, he withdraws from the documentary completely. He has nothing else to say, no persona at all under the character.
Once Sam had revealed all the gaslighting stuff to me, he figured there wasn't really much of a reason to continue to cooperate because he had provided his entertainment, so why continue? I would have been more stoked with the prank if he had allowed us to take a candid look at his life afterwards, but he shut us out. I don't know what his day-to-day life is really like. I don't know even surface level details about how he does things, or, you know, if he's even in a relationship.
Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything about anything.
iDubbbz himself talked about a moment at the peak of his fame where he couldn't leave his house anymore because he hated the audience he had cultivated and the reflection of himself that he saw in them.
These are the people that I'm attracting. These are the people that I'm entertaining. Like, I need to reevaluate things. They're relating and enjoying this content for a reason, and that's not maybe the same reason that I'm trying to.
And before Filthy Frank retired his channel to become Joji, he filmed a video in the bathtub saying he only meant to satirize the worst parts of the internet and didn't intend to end up embodying them. He deleted the video shortly after.
A lot of the stress came from the idea that you guys don't realize that I exist as well as a human. There's Frank, there's Pink Guy, there's Salamander Man. There are all these wonderful fuckers living here, but then there's me as well. And people not knowing that I existed and that it was just these guys really gave me a lot of stress, you know, because I'm a normal person, just like the rest of you guys.
There's a reason these kinds of YouTubers end up with audiences they hate. It's not that the audience members themselves are racist cretins, or at least that they were before they found the YouTuber. It's that the audience members don't know who they are either. They're irony poisoned too, and they participate in over-identification with the character on screen, including the worst parts of it. the shock humor that is so often punching down.
My brother, we'll leave, but I need you to understand that you're playing a part in an oppressive system. You feel me, dog?
They might think they're playing the character too, but most likely they don't know whether they are or not. When you're over-identifying with a character for so long, and you also don't know who you are, your real personality starts to slide the way of that character. It's like what it girls say about funny guys. You're laughing and laughing, then you're in bed with them.
I figured it out. What I love so much about this is that it's impossible to reliably identify the disposition of the sticker's creator. You'd be very hard-pressed to find anyone who's happy about this sticker. And for that reason, it's unclear who would make this sticker or for what purpose, but it feels incredibly potent.
It's cool.
Job was cool when everyone assumed sincerity, but now everyone's joking all the time. It's useless. You know what? I've done enough on this case. We're done. You're going to have to figure out what's next. Job is dead.
That's really the question. Can we get somewhere new by evolving our old irony more and more? Answer it. Let's look at pure, non-irony poisons Job, plain level 1 irony in the internet. Borat subsequent movie film. Sacha Baron Cohen here is essentially the same as he was in the original Borat. His stunts are as absurd and energetic as they were before. This time, he's the least ridiculous character in the entire movie. Something's changed. In the first one, he had to egg on a rodeo director for half an hour to get him to say something anti-Semitic. But this time, people around him are offering up their own racist jokes and on-tape sex crimes with almost zero prompting. The America we see in this film is irony-saturated. So irony-saturated that Borat's Job becomes an anti-Job. The raciest movie of 2006 is completely nullified by the time we reach 2020. If we choose to push irony further, Filthy Frank's gonna look like Mother Teresa by 2026. So our truth-seeking mission leads us to a fork in the road. We looked one way, we walked the path, we told you what we saw. Why don't we go ahead and look the other way?
The next real literary rebels in this country might well emerge as some weird bunch of anti-rebels. Born oglers who dare somehow to back away from ironic watching, who have the childish gall actually to endorse and instantiate single entendre principles. Real rebels, as far as I can see, risk disapproval. The old postmodern insurgents risk the gasp and squeal, shock, disgust, outrage, censorship, accusations of socialism, anarchism, nihilism. Today's risks are different. The new rebels might be artists willing to risk the yawn, the rolled eyes, the cool smile, the nudged ribs, the parody of gifted ironists, the oh how banal. To risk accusations of sentimentality, melodrama, of over-credulity, of softness, of willingness to be suckered by a world of lurkers and stares who fear gaze and ridicule above imprisonment without law. Who knows? I don't have to tell you what new sincerity is. Why don't I just show you?
It is beautiful, Steve.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? I wonder if it remembers me.
I never thanked you for saving my life.
Remember me. Best. Maybe we can.
I kept wondering, who Who is this little boy gonna be? Or girl. Or girl, right, because at that point we didn't know. Ash, I'm so glad he was you.
I'm asking this particularly of young people that watch. Please do not be cynical. I hate cynicism. For the record, it's my least favorite quality. It doesn't lead anywhere. Nobody in life gets exactly what they thought they were going to get. But if you work really hard and you're kind, amazing things will happen. I'm telling you, amazing things will happen.